A good conversation is not what you say, but how you say it. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone who just seems so interesting? They have so many stories to share. They know how to make you laugh, but then also be serious and go deep at the same time. They seem like they have something to say for everything. Meanwhile, whenever you have to talk to people, whether it's one-on-one or you're in a group, you spend so much time in your own head. What do I say next? This is gonna sound so boring. I don't even know what to say. You're physically there in conversation, but mentally you're somewhere else. I've come to realize after being that cringy girl that never has anything to say, is constantly saying, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, like I'm nowhere near as interesting as everyone else. A good conversation is not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not the funny and amazing travel stories that are holding you back, or even the crazy first date stories about when you met that weird guy on a dating app. There is nothing like an experience or a story that's holding you back. It's your approach. But after going from someone who used to never know what to say in conversations to someone who is super chatty and you can literally never shut me up, I'm gonna share everything that I've learned in this video. Hey, if you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overachiever, over anything, you're in the right place. I have come to realize you are not boring, you just like conversational skills. You keep telling yourself, I don't know what to say, like I'm nowhere near as cool as them. How do I come up with these cool, interesting stories to tell people? How do I tell these stories in a really cool way and make them not sound boring? You are not doing anything wrong, it is literally just your approach. But I'm gonna share everything that I know in this video. Starting off with, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't stress about the approach. Before you even go up to someone and say hi, before you even go into your next class, before you go to your next meeting, before you go on that first date, whenever you're about to meet someone or meet up with a group, the approach that you come with and the energy that you come with says a lot. For me, when I used to go into there used to be this seminar that I used to have at my university. Like it was a really big seminar of like 70 different people, but as you go to the seminar, you'd split up into different groups. And I would stress so much going into this seminar because I would think about like, who am I going to sit with? Like, no, I don't know anyone there that well. I'm going to have to plan out like, okay, I'll come at this time. If I come 5 minutes early, that means I can find someone that I can sit with, talk to them before, then go into the seminar with them, and then I'll sit with them. And when I think about it, I was putting so much heaviness on the approach. Like just going up to people and saying hi and planning out who I was going to say hi to. Like there was such an emphasis behind it. And also at that time, I was also trying to find people similar to me. Like if I also saw another girl like still on her own in the corner, not talking to anyone, glued to her phone, that would to me would be a signal like, okay, she's a good target. I'm gonna go after her. If you are trying to work on coming out your comfort zone more, making more friends, going up to people and like being comfortable just being who you are and being yourself, try to lower the stakes of going up to people. Like the only difference between me then and me now, like I'm literally the same person, but I don't attach any effort or heaviness on like going up to someone and saying hi. Like still, to this day, when I go to seminars, I literally had a seminar last week. I didn't really know the people that well in my seminar, but I literally just show up as and when. I'm not planning anything. I just kind of don't care. Or not that I don't care, but going to that seminar last week, there was no stakes on me saying hi to someone. I'm not trying to scout out people that are similar to me because I just know that I genuinely can speak to anyone. I can like smile at people and I'm not gonna like put too much effort on, oh, she didn't smile back, that means she doesn't like me. Like I'm not thinking in that way at all. The energy you give off, you don't even realize it, but like the way that you're looking around the room and the way that like you're scared to approach people, the way that you're only approaching people that are also like or by themselves, not talking to anyone, like it says a lot. If you can see that on other people, they can see it on you. Repetition will really solidify this into place. But something that I heard in a podcast, a woman was talking about this concept of like trivial and often versus rare and crucial. Like sometimes people will have a really rare and crucial attitude to meeting new people. Like I used to think this is a rare opportunity at this seminar. Like I really have to make sure that I speak to the right person. I really have to make sure I say the right thing. If I don't say the right thing, everything's gonna be ruined. Like it was a super rare opportunity and the stakes were crucial. Whereas now it's such a trivial and often approach. Like it's super trivial meeting up with people, like it's not that deep. My self-esteem and confidence is not attached to how well I communicate with someone or if I don't communicate with someone. And it's just so often like I will always meet people. I'm at university, I'm literally gonna always meet people. When you start work or when I start work, I'm still gonna meet people. It's such a trivial and often approach. And I think the key to this chapter, like the approach, not caring about what happens, what you say, what you do, not caring about who you're speaking to, that will all come and you'll stop caring when your self-esteem isn't attached to it. Obviously back then when I really cared a lot and it was like a rare and crucial chance to meet people, I cared so much because I thought I'm not good enough or I'm not funny enough, I'm not interesting, I'm the super boring person, I'm that boring girl that does nothing. And that was like my identity and what I was telling myself. So then when I had the opportunity to meet new people, it was crucial. I was like, I have to prove this wrong. I have to prove that I'm not all these things that I thought I was. And then over time, like you just have to repeat the cycle of like having your self-esteem be attached to something else. Like get a hobby, get a side hustle. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You really want your identity to be diversified. Like people always talk about diversification and like investing and like managing your money, like have your money in like different little areas, but like also your identity as well. Don't just have your identity wrapped up in like your performance at work or your performance in your exams, your performance as an athlete. Like have it wrapped up in like your side hustle that you do, the artwork that you make, your connection with your family and friends, those items that you like to collect and build up like a memorabilia closet. Like have your identity diversified. Also, last thing with the approach, when it comes to kind of you're about to start a conversation, you're like gonna approach someone, they're gonna approach you, give people like a signal. People never want to intrude. Like people always are kind of looking, like I was, and I'm sure you are, like who is the available person who's stood by themselves. Like it's easy to approach someone on their own, but it's really hard to go up to a group of say like 6 people all already talking. Like there's no signal that means that they're open and like available to talk, whereas someone who's on their own, that's already a signal, just the fact that they're on their own. Similarly, when people want to approach you, give them signals like being not on your phone or smiling when someone makes eye contact with you. Just give people little signals to let them know that like you are open and like you are, I don't know, friendly and inviting, and like you can come and say hi. Like there is no right or wrong things to talk about. Trust me, there's nothing that you can say that is wrong or the wrong thing to say. The only thing that is wrong is your attitude about it. It's very much a confidence thing. Like there's no, like, trust me, I've had plenty of conversations. I am a medical student, and literally in hospitals every single day I probably have a solid 10 different conversations with different people that I meet all the time. Like, and when I think about some of the conversations that I've had that were like really funny or just charming or like heartwarming and like little things like that, it's never like we were talking about some extravagant thing like someone's travel plans to Bali or someone's nightmare of a first date. Like it's never crazy stuff. Like it's always just like we connected. Like I saw them, they saw me. I said something like just personal. I said something personal about me and how I feel, and then they were like, oh yeah, I get you, I see that, and like they opened up as well. That's always where I'm like, oh my gosh, like humanity, like faith is restored. Stop telling yourself that you're not interesting or you're boring or you don't have anything good to say. That is not the case, I promise you, because if you're someone that can listen and you've got really good empathy skills, trust me, you're really good in conversation. You're just telling yourself the wrong things, especially when it comes to like saying the wrong thing. Like your focus is probably on the wrong area. You're focusing on like the topics, the things you're talking about. You're focusing on like the conversation. Really need to focus on like yourself. Like, are you confident in yourself? The only difference between me then and me now is me back then thought like I don't have the interesting things to say, whereas now I'm like I am the interesting thing. Like me always. It's not the topic. I could talk about anything. I could talk about my slipper. I would still be the interesting thing. Like it doesn't matter what I'm talking about. I have so much faith in just like anything that could come up in a rising conversation, I would be able to navigate and talk about in a really like open way that I don't need the interesting topics. I literally don't. Because as well, if that's the way that you think, you're kind of gonna be waiting for life to happen before you're ready to make the friends that you want. Like if you tell yourself like, oh, I'm not interesting enough, I'm too boring, I've not had a love life experience. Like you're sat on the sidelines whilst everyone else is living their life, going ahead, not waiting for an imaginary timeline to pass before they're ready. Moral of the story, you don't need interesting topics. You need to believe in yourself. How do you do that? Okay, one of the ways that you do that is the power of framing. Framing is this really interesting concept that I've learned about that we all do and we don't even realize, and brands and companies use this to manipulate us and we don't even realize it as well. So framing is essentially like setting people up to think that you're going to talk about something in a certain way. Here's an example. So I could say, guys, I was on my surgery placement the other day and I saw something super disgusting. It was so gross, like I actually don't even know if I want to tell you. That is framing. I could tell you something that wasn't even disgusting in any sort of way. I could say something like, oh yeah, I was helping out in a C-section. I genuinely did this last week. I was helping out in a C-section and the baby came out. Baby started crying, magical, nearly started tearing up. It was so overwhelming. But the baby was covered in like a really weird residue. It was like a white gooey thing. And the baby just like, it was super slimy as well. I was actually holding it at one point, but like it was super gross. Is that the most disgusting thing ever? Is that the most gross thing? I don't know. Probably not. That's an example of framing, and that's how I could maybe use it, or how brands and companies can use it as well when they kind of talk about, you need this makeup product to look like, you know, your best self, or you need this makeup product to glow up and stuff. You're using it in a similar way when you say, I'm not boring, I have nothing to say. That is all framing. You're framing yourself. You might not be saying it to other people, but all these things that you say to yourself are super powerful. So one way that I really want you guys to work on not believing that you need the topics to be interesting, you just need to believe in yourself, is work on the framing that you have. Like the messaging that you say to yourself, going into that new group of people, going into that new setting, try to frame yourself neutrally. Like, I'm excited for this new school, I'm excited for this new event, like I'm a really good person, I'm a good listener, I always give people space to open up and talk and connect. Like I'm a good person, I believe in myself. I know it's cringy, like I know it's cringy, but like if you don't want to do the positive affirmations, the whimsical stuff, just at least remove the negative framing. Like definitely remove that. Stop telling yourself all these negative things. Another thing that's holding you back and how you can stop focusing on being interesting and instead believe in yourself is to stop deflecting. This is a super common anytime you're in conversation. Oh, what about you? Oh, what did you do? Oh, how was your weekend? Oh, but I love your outfit. Oh no, but your hair is so nice. Why are we so afraid to be seen? If someone asks you about yourself, like, I don't want you to think too deep into it, because honestly, like, the art of conversation is just being really relaxed and like being really like comfortable in who you are. And once you get that, conversation becomes easier. My aim for this video is for you guys to understand, like, you shouldn't be focusing on like the conversation and instead just like be comfortable with yourself. But when it comes to deflecting, it's like a sign that you're afraid to be seen in a way. Like for me, I've discovered I have a fear of being seen. I'm overcoming it, but it's still kind of there. Even though I literally have like a bunch of followers on social media, I thought like, oh, I hate the word influencer. I'm not going to call myself that. I was like, I'm a content creator. I'm super confident on camera. I enjoy talking to the camera. Like, I'm super cool with that. But there's still times where I'll be speaking to someone and they'll be like, oh, Christina, I saw your video. It was really cool. And I immediately start talking about like their Instagram story that I saw, or like someone will compliment my outfit and I'll be like, thank you. Like, I love your jeans too. Like, I always deflect. I still don't now, which is why I'm saying it in the video, because if I start talking about this, hopefully I'll work on it as well. But a conversation, I've come to realise, is a really good mix of like give and take. You give, they receive. You receive, they give. Like, don't make it just a one-way thing where it's like you're just giving, and they have to receive everything. Like, you don't want that dynamic. Like, the best example I saw of this was the other day. I was on my way somewhere. I was on the metro. I was being really nosy and eavesdropping on this American woman and this young guy in his like 20s, and they were talking back and forth about so much stuff. Like, the sort of conversation that I just thought, like, I'm super jealous of them. Like, they were having such a cool conversation. They were talking about like politics one minute and like bees the next minute, like this, like Donald Trump the next minute, her job as an attorney. They were talking about like salaries and money and wealth and like generational wealth. Like they went back and forth on so many things, and it was just reinforcing to me, like, conversation is give and take. You go back and forth. There was no like, oh, what about you, and your political situation is much worse, or your political situation is much better. Like don't deflect, because then you're denying the other person the chance to have that give and take, back and forth, that tennis, like ping pong. Like, you want it to go back and forth equally and just in a balanced way. A lot of the times when I'm speaking to a friend, I think I'm probably talking more, but then when I'm speaking to someone new, I'm not talking as much. It's totally okay for there to be like ebbs and flows where you're speaking to someone regularly. They talk more here, you'll talk more there, but like don't deflect. Give someone the chance to have that ping pong, that back and forth, because that's what makes a good conversation. And sometimes when it comes to deflecting and like being afraid to be seen, being afraid to be in the spotlight and have the lights on you for a minute, like let's talk about your outfit. I love what you're wearing. Like, it's scary to have that so much focus on you, but the goal is not to be like likable and to get the person to like you. Like, you're not trying to have this conversation and for them to be like, oh, Christina's so cool. That is not the goal. The goal is to be yourself and to be confident in yourself. That's why it's so important to receive compliments. Like, if someone says something nice about you, just receive that and say thank you. And like, oh yeah, like I kind of like my outfit too. Like, it's okay to bask in it. That's totally fine. Versus when you're deflecting, I think sometimes you don't want too much attention on you. You're scared to be seen. You want to be seen as like likable, and so you're thinking like, oh, let me just give you a compliment and like hand it back over to you. When I think about being likable versus being yourself, I sometimes think about it as like being likable in a conversation, talking to someone new. You're coming with like a script of like, this is what I should do and should say, how I should act. Then when it comes to being yourself, it's more just come as you are. You are okay. You are accepted to just be who you are. Open up, talk, yap, not talk. Like, there are some conversations where I don't talk very much at all. I'm just letting the other person go ahead and waffle. But there's absolutely a script that you've written up in your mind on like, this is what I need to do to make friends. Like, if I don't do this, they won't like me. If I don't say yes to everything and agree with all their controversial opinions, like, they won't like me. Stop thinking of what to say next. This is one of the biggest things that gets in the way of you like really connecting with someone and feeling like things just like click. Because it is never what you say in the conversation, it's just how you say it. It's how you come across. It's your energy, it's your vibe. It's how present you are. It's how much you see the other person. Like, there's a reason why that quote is so popular and people say it all the time. Like, Maya Angelou said, people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you feel. It's the same rings true with a random conversation with a stranger, or your first conversation with a girl that you will eventually start to click more and more with at your class. If saying the right thing and being correct was important to us as humans, then there would be a lot of horrible, harsh, really critical people that we would all really like. Like, I'm sure we can all think of someone who is really intelligent, really smart, says all the right things, but like, they're quite like a jaded and harsh person, or they're quite critical, or they're really negative. Like, there's a reason why we don't like these people, even though they are right and correct. Similarly, sometimes in a conversation, you're putting pressure on yourself to say the right thing. You're thinking of what to say next. What's going to be interesting? What's going to be fun? Like, how do I sound cool? Like, you're thinking of the right things, but that's actually not the focus. I think if you are reminding yourself of that in a conversation all the time, what do I say next? What do I say next? Instead, what you should start thinking is like, how can I make myself more comfortable? Because if you're more comfortable, they'll be more comfortable. Being more comfortable can be talking about something that like you quite enjoy talking about. Like, if it's like a holiday that you went on and it comes up in conversation, like, talk about that. Or if it's like you really like to know what people want to do in their, I don't know, what their 5-year plan is, you really enjoy asking about that, go ahead and ask, like, what would make me feel more comfortable? I don't necessarily think that when I'm in conversation, but that's like kind of what I'm doing in a way. And another reason why that's wrong is because you're kind of making yourself the focus. Like, you're making yourself as to be like the focal point, and you're not thinking and giving your attention to that person that you're talking to, or that group that you're talking to. You're kind of focusing on yourself, which is okay, but it takes you out of the present moment. It takes you out of the flow of the conversation. Like, when I was being nosy as hell and listening to that conversation between the American woman and the guy, like, I could tell they were both just there with each other. Like, they weren't on their phone scrolling and talking. They weren't like looking out the window and talking. Like, they were there with each other, like, just talking back and forth. There was no hesitation, no overthinking. They were just there with each other. And you might be thinking, oh, but Christine, like, sometimes I literally don't know what to say, and you know, I have to think of what to say because there's just going to be pauses, there's going to be silences, I don't know what to say. You're acting like silences and pauses aren't valuable. I want your approach to be, in a conversation, everything you have to say or not say is valuable. You adding is value, you not adding is value as well. The culture in high school or even college, like wherever it is that you spend education, sometimes the biggest and loudest voices are amplified and almost glorified in a way to make you think that, like, if you're not the popular, really loud, outgoing group, if you're not extroverted, then you're boring and like you're just a weirdo, you're a loner. But I'm sorry, this isn't High School Musical. Like, some of us just are a little bit more quiet. Like, some of us don't have as much to say. Some of us don't like shouting across the classroom, like, or shouting across the meeting, being the loudest voice on the Zoom call. Like, it's totally okay to be a bit more quieter and have a bit of a lower tone. In a lot of the conversations that I have now, there's still pauses. I think pauses add. They definitely add to it. Like, sometimes my friends will say something, like, if they say something shocking, I'll literally just like, wow, like pauses are okay. Or if, say it's not a pause, but I'm kind of just like acknowledging what they've said and I don't know what to say, I'll just be like, They add. They do add. I think a lot of this is just kind of like a mindset shift. Like, you think that certain things are bad, I don't think that they're bad. I think they're good. I think the only reason why you think that they're bad, or saying nothing is bad, being silent is bad, like, I don't know what to say, that's bad, is because you have like such high expectations of yourself. There's some sort of expectation that you have, and you just think you have to show up in a conversation, and like there's certain things you have to say, you're not meeting that, and so you're unhappy. And like you feel like you're not good enough, you feel like you're boring. That's where all these beliefs come from, I guess. Like, I used to have conversation with people, and like I'd feel really awkward as I'm in the conversation, like, because I was so on edge and like thinking of what to say. And then I'd go home and like I'd have a few hours to think of what to say, and then I'd be like, oh, I should have said that, like, oh, like, why did I say this? I'd be kicking myself like on the way home or at home, like thinking I should have said X, Y, and Z. But those were expectations. I gave myself this like really serious like persona to live up to, and if I didn't live up to that, Christina, you're boring. Like, Why was I doing that? I'm convinced now as someone, like, I know this is a bold statement, but I don't think I have bad conversations now. I think all my conversations are good. Is that delusional? Maybe it is. I just think, I was literally in a taxi yesterday. I got an Uber that was £50. I was coming back from the airport, and you know when the demand is like crazy and the price is triple or quadruple. The price is literally quadrupled, and it was £50. And I was talking to the Uber driver. I was like, let me actually like talk, because I was exhausted. It was midnight, but I was like, let me actually get my money's worth. I paid £50. Me and him had such a good conversation. Like, I literally got out of the car and got home. I was like, oh, what a nice guy. Gave him a 5-star review, and literally never do that. I can never be bothered. But me and him were just talking about his job. That conversation that we had, we also talked about him wanting kids because he wants to have a family one day, and that was really wholesome. We spoke about his job, his old job, and a future family. None of that is wild. None of that, you could argue none of that is interesting. How is your job and your old job interesting? How is, oh, I want kids one day. How is that interesting? But like, it was just the way we connected. Like, I think just when you see people and like you open up a tiny bit and they open up a tiny bit and like you just see each other, that is what makes it. Stop hiding your opinion, aka one of the best things about you. One of the best things that I started to do was to like disagree with people when I was having a conversation. I used to be the sort of person that would just like say yes and agree with everything that they said. Like, I'd be way too scared. It wasn't even something I could comprehend to like disagree with someone and say like, oh no, I didn't like that movie. Like I couldn't even fathom saying that. I would just automatically agree without thinking. Whereas now I'm very much like, I feel like I'm actually at the table of like, I'm really talking to people. I'm not just like, I'm not pretending and acting when I'm talking to people. I'm really being myself. I am there with them, not like Christina's representative, because that's what used to be there. Now, if someone says, oh yeah, I watched Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney and I loved it, I'd be like, really? Like, you like that movie? I watched that movie, and throughout the whole 1 hour, 30 minutes, I was like, how do people like this? Like, I took, like, fair enough if you enjoyed the movie, because do you know what's good about the movie? The ending. The ending is really good. I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending is really good, and the music and just like the general vibes. When I finished the movie, I was like, oh, that was good. But then when I think back to the actual chunk of the movie, I was like, I wasted an hour 20 on that. Wow. Stop playing it safe with agreeing with other people's opinions and hiding your own, because honestly, it's one of the best things about you. And the reason is because when you do reveal your opinion and you're open and like you're actually with them, you're at the table, not your representative. When you're at the table, people can actually see the real you and connect with you, which is something I keep repeating, but that's really what makes good conversation. Similarly, if you're hiding your opinion, people won't see you genuinely. And trust me, you don't realize the extent of it until you come out on the other side and you do start to open up and you do start to tell people like you don't like that movie and you don't like that song, you don't like Taylor Swift, you don't like, do you know what I mean? Like whoever it is. At the end of the day, it's okay for people to dislike you. It's okay. And do you know what? You probably overestimate how much people will dislike you if you share your opinion. Because for me, for example, I thought people aren't going to like me if I say I like this style of music. People won't like you because of who you are. If you're a horrible person, if you're really rude, if you're really impatient, if you're really negative, like there's a girl that I know, we have a lot in common. There's a lot we don't have in common too, but we do, when we talk, we do click on certain things. But she's also really negative. Like she's quite a draining person. I can only handle her when we've got like a few other people in the room, because her like negativity is diluted a little bit, and I'm like, I can talk to someone else. I can like even just thinking about it, I'm getting a bit drained, because she's one of those people you can say anything and she'll like focus on the negative and be like, oh, but you can't do that, or yeah, but you said this, like, I thought you said this. Like, it's a workout trying to talk to her. The reason she's hard to talk to and she's a difficult person is because of who she is, not her opinions, which some of them we click on, we get along with. So don't overinflate the emphasis that your opinions and preferences and your likes and interests have. Like people aren't going to like you because of that, trust me. Like you think that you have to do interesting things and like certain music for people to like you. People like you for your character, like who you are, how nice you are, your positivity. What vibe do you add to the group? Like, are you draining? Are you negative? Do you make it hard for people to have like light, comfortable, fun energy? Like if that's you, then okay, yeah, I actually can't help you in this video, because like being a kind, genuine person is what people want. Like your interests and stuff won't get in the way of that. And the last chapter of this video is going to address the most popular question you probably get asked, the sort of question that gets asked in every single conversation. This is essentially how to respond to, how are you? How's it going? What's up? when it comes to the how are you, or the introduction to a conversation, cut the BS and say how you actually feel. Oh, hey, yeah, I'm good, thanks. I mean, I'm actually not. I'm quite nervous about this exam I have coming up. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, hey, yeah, I'm so stressed right now. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, the amount of work that I have to do, it's ridiculous. Oh, hey, yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm doing super good. I've actually got a holiday coming up next month. Like, I'm super excited. When someone asks, how are you? I feel like, to me, that is just, to me, it's a signal to, like, open up the conversation and to, like, add some tree branches, add some spider webs, let's take this conversation elsewhere. How are you isn't like small talk to me. I feel like it's all perspective. It's all like the way that you see things. In a conversation, to me, how are you is like, let's get started. Like let's actually explore and talk about something else. Because, like, I can't remember exactly what I said, but in the Uber, like, this morning even, it was this morning. Like, when I was in the Uber, he said, hey, you okay back there? I did not say, yeah, I am. Like, I said, like, no, I'm super tired. I just got off the flight. Like, I automatically think this is a chance to, like, bloom the conversation. Like, talk about how you feel. And I'm not saying do it overnight. I'm not saying show up to tomorrow to, like, your workplace and start talking about, like, deep things. That's not the goal. The goal is to slowly but surely, at your own pace, slow and steady wins the race. Like, just say, like, genuinely just drop a little bit of how you actually feel. Because a conversation, it's the back and forth, it's the ping pong, it's the tennis. Speaking of tennis, actually, this is a bit of a sidetrack. Go and watch Challengers. Oh my god, what a movie. It was so good. A conversation, it's back and forth, it's me and you, it's ping pong. Like, you need to give someone something for them to pass the ball back to you. So I was saying earlier, like, a conversation, it's give and receive. You know, don't deflect, don't just shove it all onto them, because you really do need to pass it back to you. Like, when someone says, how are you? They pass it to you. Give them something to work with. Like, don't just say, yeah, I'm fine. Where do we go from here? This is why no one likes small talk on dating apps. Like, I'm on Hinge at the moment. And, like, whenever that cycle of conversation happens, hi, how are you? Good, thanks. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? For me, how are you? You might be thinking, like, oh, but what do I say? I don't want to trauma dump. Like, what do I actually say? I normally just talk about, like, what happened yesterday, or, like, what's happened recently, what I've got coming up. Like, I'm so honest. I'll be super genuine. Because another reason why you might be struggling with conversation, like we've said, you're not actually there in conversation. Your representative is. Someone says, how are you? Your representative says, yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm good. You, on the other hand, in the back, all the way in the back, you're not in the conversation. She or he or they feels quite down. They feel really tired. They're exhausted. They've had a really long week. They can't wait for the weekend. That's how you actually feel. But your representative is saying something else. What I really want for you is to have less of that representative in the front and more of you that's in the back to come into the front and into the conversation. And trust me, it can happen. If it can happen to me, it can actually happen to anyone. Like, I think back to who I was. I've got a diary that I, like, physically write in. Sometimes I read through that and I can't even believe the transformation that I've had. Like, on social media, you see these transformations of, like physical glow ups and money and, like, lifestyles that people have, and that's all, like, genuinely, that's amazing. Love that for you. But when I think about the transformation I've had, I'm just super proud of, like, just the transformation that I've had. It's crazy. So, to summarise, we've said a lot in this video, so let's kind of go back a little bit. When it comes to the approach, don't do too much, but give people a little signal, a little smile, a few seconds of eye contact. Give people a little something to know that you're available. You can come say hi. I'm not scary, I don't bite. There is no right thing to say. There is only a lack of confidence and having confidence. You are always going to have the right things to say. It's just a shift in your mindset. You don't need to say interesting, fun, crazy things. You just need to connect. People remember you for how you made them feel, not for what you say. On a similar vein, don't hide your opinion. Literally show up with your controversial opinions. Show up with the things that you hate, the things that you love. Show people who you are, because they're not going to love you for having the same interests. They love you for who you are as a person. And when it comes to how are you, you don't have to hate that in conversation. You don't have to loathe it as, like, I hate small talk, I hate how are you. That can be the start of something great. That can be literally just the first tree branch on, I don't know, a little tree of great conversation. But thank you, family. That is this video done. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my previous video on you're not boring, you're just forgettable. I have a whole entire playlist on these sorts of videos and these topics. I'm gonna link it up here, and let me know what video you want to see in the comments down below. But that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.